All right, welcome to another Keymaster series in the summer here. It's hotter than ever in Sweden. I'm actually looking forward to coming back in January next year. But I'm Sven, and this is Jörgen.
Hey.
And we want to go over the PKI components and how you architect those in today's PKI.
Yeah, that's a topic we sort of address more and more and have conversations around. So yeah, because you have these main components like the CA, RA, registration authority where you request certificates, and the VA where you validate them, serial OCSP typically.
Exactly. And we like to separate those out into the different roles. That way we can have what's called the defense in depth. So that way traffic comes into the CA or VA, or nope, to your VA or RA, and then it never actually comes to the CA. That way you have those layers. So if something actually got compromised at the RA or VA level, it doesn't end up ruining the CA or compromising that to lower your blast radius, I guess we'd say.
Yeah, exactly, because nothing communicates directly with the CAs. You have these as a fronts, which is a good thing. Both for, like I said, security in depth, separation of sort of the components, and also if you're going to do multi-data centers, hybrid cloud.
And that's, a great one. So how do you handle today if I want to run my PKI on-prem, but I want to have revocation or enrollments up in the cloud?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, do you run one PKI per cloud or per sort of region, or would you like to have a more sort of uniform corporate PKI that you could find in any region and the cloud? I think that's attractive.
Yeah, and having that ability to then migrate those roles, where if CA's on-prem or put RAs and VAs out in the cloud, or maybe you have a CA in the cloud, but then you need to keep RAs and VAs on-prem because of old legacy stuff. You need the flexibility like that.
Yeah.
So when you're designing that, you want to make sure those components can be separated out to have that flexibility in a design.
Yeah. I mean, you know a lot about this as well. I mean, how do major corporations do that if you separate RA/VA into like hybrid clouds? Do they do software or containers, or I mean, because you could be more flexible
too,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and scaling. And
I find a lot of that depends on their comfort level of their skill set, whether they're there. I mean, honestly, today a lot of it though is going more towards container.
Yeah,
I'm seeing more and more deployments requesting for Helm chart to be able to deploy in cloud A, B, or C like that.
Exactly, A, B, C, and then you think we're done. No, there's a cloud D as well.
Yeah, there's always a new cloud.
Okay, I mean, it's containers, but pretty much sort of supported everywhere.
And I mean, that also takes care of the scaling side as a container, because with the Kubernetes, you can get the auto scaling side of it.
Yeah.
Which is really great, versus before you'd have to have some automation in place to spin up another instance in the cloud and either have it provision database and the peering or whatever you're doing to set the replication up to get data or the connection to the CA, right?
Yeah.
So containers really takes that auto scaling to the next level and simplifies it quite a bit.
And that's actually a good point, because in all of this, I mean, you could still run your PKI and have it distributed everywhere, more or less. So it's not like you're going to have a lot of CAs all signed by one central root. You could basically have, well, you could have multiple issuing CAs, or you could have one more or less publicly sort of published everywhere.
Exactly. It's just latency at that point to consider.
Yeah.
And then how much can I afford to be down on an architecture like that? You know, if I can't afford to be down much, then I'd want to go CAs in multiple regions probably.
Yeah.
And then even put it in the cloud at that point if I can't just run it on-prem because of that availability.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a big driver that I see today. I'm sure you probably see it too.
Yeah. I mean, if you have follower sons, you always have to be online. I mean, but some people sleep somewhere, so that would give you a room of maintenance window. So yeah, maybe that is a thing to think about if you're going to have one PKI everywhere or per region, or then cope with the load. I mean, if you're going to do OCSP, I mean, you better respond when someone is sort of requesting an OCSP.
Kind of a good thing.
So yeah, so
revocation never hurt anybody.
Exactly. So you need to be there, and you could spin it up when you need, whenever you deploy in your cloud or region or whatever.
Yeah, so that's definitely something to consider like that, is having the separate components and knowing and planning a little bit on how you're going to grow the PKI. Because if you've already got one today traditionally on-prem and you want to start migrating to the cloud, or if you want to just start new in the cloud, these are just things that you can easily handle, and making sure you have a PKI that can separate those functions out to give you that room for growth.
Yeah.
The whole, crawl, walk, run type thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Because what's the option to run the cloud provider's PKI in each and every location? Well, then you're probably going to run a few different PKIs, and how do you sort of streamline your sort of the policies and operations and train staff and things like that. So that's also a good sort of thing to think about, like stringent, follow your policies.
Policy, policy, policy.
Exactly. PKI. I mean,
That's how I look at it.
yeah.
So yeah, definitely if you're looking at picking out and architecting your PKI, make sure it can have that separation of those functions to give you that defense and depth, lower the blast radius, and give you the flexibility you need to grow. Right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you in the next episode, guys. Ciao.